All right, what's up, guys? Happy Monday. Chuck and Nick here. We have a pretty okay DFS slate today. Ton of injuries to get through. Nick, how we doing? What do we think about today?
Yeah, not bad, man. Pretty big slate, 9 games. Some weird chalk already that I think we're going to have to talk through. I mean, whenever you see Chimeze Metu and Marcus Sasser as the top on plays, I mean, gotta think there are other ways to get different. But yeah, man. I mean, a lot of games on this one, some wide spreads, but we have a ton of news already, so probably a good slate in terms of pivoting off of some of this chalk.
Yeah, looking forward to this one actually. Shout out to Emery in the chat, Unicorn Love, Barry Jones. Appreciate you guys being here every day. Let's get through the top stuff. So Wemby is out. They're playing Phoenix tonight. Donovan Mitchell's still out. LaMelo's still out. Cade Cunningham is out for injury maintenance. It was super weird. They ruled him out like 20 minutes before the game started last time, and now he's out for a second day in a row. So
Yeah,
seems
it's
like
weird.
more than that. Quickly still out. Kuzma's out today. Um, let's see. Derek White just got ruled out. Anthony Simons, R.J. Barrett's still out. Jalen Johnson is out, and those are all the guys like priced above 7K. From the role players, who else? Who else do we have?
I know Cam Johnson's out for the Nets. The whole front court for the Pistons is banged up, which is why we're talking about Metu here. A few other ones. I know Boston, you mentioned Derek White. They still have no Drew either.
Mhm.
So they're very thin in that backcourt. What else? There's so much, man. It's crazy. Um, I think you covered it for the most part. Obviously, no Sengun for Houston. He's out for the season. Um, Jazz are getting Laurie back. But yeah, man, I think you did a pretty good job. At least first wave covered most of it.
Yeah, for your Nets, I'm seeing DSJ and Kata Bates Jop are out. They've been out for a couple games already.
Um, Bates' job has hardly been in the rotation, so honestly, I don't even know. DSJ's been out for a couple games. The Cam Johnson stuff's new, which makes it a little bit interesting here. I mean, this is one of those games where I'm wondering what the starting lineup's going to look like. I know we're seeing a lot of chalk going to Dorian Finney-Smith, but it wouldn't shock me to see someone like Watford or maybe even Jalen Wilson get the nod there. I think the logical play is going to be Finney-Smith, but yeah, man. I mean, as chalk, I'm not excited to get there.
And speaking of like weird chalk, it's just everyone is in this mid-teens range, and then Cam Thomas at 33% on FanDuel, only $100 less than DraftKings, but double the ownership. I mean, I know that you've been on him as a GPP play. I've been
Yeah.
playing him too. What do we think about him today?
I mean, I'm always super over the field on him. A night like tonight, I can't really wrap my head around why he's so popular. Like, Cam Johnson's out, yes, but he's kind of a spot up 3 point shooter. It's not like he's taking a ton of usage from him. I mean, if anything, you'd think you'd see more looks go to Schroeder Bridges. But I mean, I like him at his price. He's a fine play, but there's just so many pivots at that ownership. I don't know that we need to get there if he's going to be very popular.
Yeah, it's like we haven't projected for 37 minutes, and it seems like he has a like this is one of the best floors I've seen over the last 2 weeks. I mean, 32 plus. Like it's not really going to help us take down a GPP at 7,300 or
Mhm.
7,200 on FanDuel, but I mean, seems fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's been shooting more threes since he's been back from injury, which obviously helps not only his ceiling but also his floor because he is a pretty damn good shooter. I mean, good matchup here too against Toronto. I mean, the Nets have not had many good matchups. They're starting to fall to the bottom half of the league really in terms of what they're capable of. But I mean, you go through their recent schedule. I mean, they've been in Milwaukee. They had to play the Knicks, the Pels. This is the best matchup they've seen in a while. So I think with a little bit of extra usage, I'm not surprised the field is bullish on him. But at the same time, like I said, I mean, there's so many guys in that range today we can consider.
Nice. And then we have a question about Houston. So I guess I missed that Jabari Smith is
Oh
suspended
yeah,
for Houston. What did he do?
I think he just got ejected for
Uh,
fighting or something. I don't know.
Dylan Brooks is rubbing off on these
Yeah,
guys, man.
him, Bullock, Smith. They're a bunch of thugs now. I don't know.
um, yeah, and then Jose in the chat, is this a Houston and Brooklyn night? Like Houston, like so Brooklyn was pulling modest ownership. Houston's pulling modest ownership against Portland too. We have a 14.5 point spread, 224 total. It's kind of low. Uh, but Amon Thompson, 7,800 on FanDuel, still pulling 14%. Like Jalen Green and Fred Van Vliet, I totally understand. Amon Thompson, 6,800 on DraftKings. I mean, what do we think about him? I don't think he's really been playing over 30 minutes every game. So
I mean, at his price, I do like him on DK, but he definitely feels like more of a kind of solid floor play than a ceiling type play. Like in low risk contests, if you're playing cash games over there, he's one of the first guys in, I think, just because of the price point. But yeah, man, I mean, he's kind of inconsistent. He's not really leading this offense, obviously, with Van Fleet and Green back there. With Smith out tonight, I think that's going to benefit the front court more than anything. He doesn't spend too much time in the paint. Maybe we finally get that Jock Landale start here, which would be interesting. I know we were on him a couple nights ago against Vooch. It worked out. But yeah, I mean, Portland, they're pretty big if Ayton's healthy. So I do like the spot for Landale. I mean, we'll talk about him when we get to the position by position. But yeah, I mean, Thompson good on DK, but probably a little bit pricey to go too heavy on him in tournaments. And then don't love the FanDuel price, if we're being honest. I mean, I'd rather find a few hundred to get the Van Fleet or Green.
Yeah, I agree. I like the comment you made. Like, he does have a good floor. I mean, as we see, 10, 8, 10, 8, 11 rebounds, only taking 9 shots a game.
Right.
But the rebounds hopefully should help him not completely fail.
Yeah.
But it's just, what kind of ceiling are we trying to get if we're playing him at 7,800?
Right. I mean, you'd want 50s, which he's capable of, but we're not seeing that all too often with him.
And then Unicorn Love, do we think Denver will sit all the starters except Caldwell Pope? Have you heard anything about this at all?
Let me pull up the most recent injury report. It just came out at 5:30. I mean, I think they had a few guys listed as questionable. I know Michael Porter Jr. was questionable earlier in the day.
Hmm.
Scrolling here.
Yeah, they're all questionable.
Yeah, I mean, oh, God, I think they could. I think more likely than not, maybe they play like just Murray and Joker because they played yesterday and Murray and Joker rested.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, on the back end of the back to back, like you think they could go here. So maybe whoever played yesterday doesn't today, and they kind of flip flop it that way, kind of like how Doc Rivers rests his guys. Um, Again, this is speculation. We don't have this news until 9 p.m. The spread's super wide though here, so like it at least tells me they're expecting probably Jokic and or Murray to play.
So on Underdog News, they have I mean, it's pure speculation, but it wouldn't be surprising if Denver elected to hold Jokic and Murray out for one more game.
Wow.
They were both out on Saturday, and interesting. So Aaron Gordon was definitely the biggest beneficiary. 22, 12, 5 assists and 3 blocks in 37 minutes. And then Christian Brown played 36 minutes off the bench. So that would be a spot to look at too, I think, if, you know, 2 of these guys miss.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how sick MPJ is because he has an illness. The rest have like body parts listed under their Q tag.
Right.
So
Right. And I mean, I think Porter's the one who's actually sick. Like the other two
yeah,
guys, I think they're just trying to give them a rest against
yeah.
these easy teams while they can. Like the run for the playoffs is coming soon. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. We're looking at a 14.5 point spread. Indication is one of these guys play, especially if Porter's sick. Like you would think just rest Porter, the guy who actually needs it. But I don't know, man. We'll see. It's a tough spot to read, but Vegas doesn't seem to be adjusting too aggressively yet.
KT in the chat. Jeff Green has been real good last 2 games. No Jabari should start. Yeah, Underdog is projecting Jeff Green to start. And so, I mean, Jeff Green's probably going to be fine. I think we're still definitely going to be going to want to be interested in Jock Landale off the bench, though.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And like I said, if Aiton's in, I don't know that he's even on the injury report. I know he missed the last 2 games. I think that's the difference in their starting lineup. Like if Aiton starts, I'm thinking they go to Landell. If Aiton comes off if Aiton's out, I think they go to Jeff Green. But yeah, Green has looked really good. He's cheap, definitely a solid play here.
And even if they do go with Jeff Green in the starting lineup, I mean, if Jock
Yeah.
Landale checks in after 5 minutes, if he plays 25 minutes, I mean, at these ownerships, I think it's definitely worth some shots.
Yeah, but like we were talking about the other night, like we really liked them against Chicago because we knew their starter and their backup were actually big
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
centers. Vooch obviously huge, and then Drummond who plays a ton of minutes off the bench whenever Vooch isn't on the floor. If Duop restarts, he's only 6'9", so like they don't need to necessarily give Landell all those minutes. Obviously, he still have some upside here, but I would be a little bit concerned about the run he's getting if Aiton's out, just because I mean 6'9" center, you could really run small against him.
Nice. And then Murray has a legit injury. I think everyone will sit except Joker and Diddy. I saw this comment 2 minutes ago. I can't figure out who Diddy is. Sounds like it's Aaron Gordon for some reason, but I'm not sure who that is. But maybe we'll get some news before the stream ends.
I mean, you don't want to be called Diddy these days.
Oh,
If
nice.
that's a term
Yeah.
of endearment, I don't know.
Collins, San Antonio, 6K on FanDuel. Yeah, let's go to San Antonio. So Wemby's out, and we know that Zach Collins definitely takes on a larger role when that happens. The 5K on DraftKings at 37%. makes complete sense, even though he's center only. FanDuel, he has power forward eligibility, 15% projected ownership, 6K. What are you doing with Zach Collins over there?
Yeah, I mean, we could get Popovich here. I mean, it's really tough to read these minutes. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, he's been good when he's getting these opportunities to start with Wemby off the floor. Not a great matchup here either against Phoenix, but I don't know that they're in any rush to limit him, knowing he doesn't usually play full minutes anyway. I like him. Like, I don't think he's a core play necessarily just because it is so tough to read Pop. I'm very confident he starts here, but yeah, I mean, it comes down to ownership. Like, I think he's about where he should be, probably 15 to 20% on FanDuel. It's pretty easy to get over that, so I'd be fine. But, like, if he starts climbing 30-40% range, I'd probably look to get away. But the power forward eligibility is the key there. Like, if he was center only, I wouldn't really want to be on him all that heavily at 6K. But agreed on the DK price where you could play two centers, and he's going to start. It's just, does he play 25 or 30 plus minutes? Because that's a huge, huge difference for a guy who's about a fantasy point per minute producer.
Yeah, I mean, we could see 30 minutes, we could see 22.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be riding with him on DraftKings, so we'll see what other centers pop up when we get there. And then Power said that was a dark joke. Diddy's house just got raided and he wasn't there. I my dude went over
I
to
mean, I partially got it. I didn't know if he was referring to NBA players today, but yeah, man. I
I
mean,
mean, you got it
uh,
more than I did, man. I said Aaron Gordon.
yeah, man. I don't know. We can look forward to the Netflix documentary.
Nice. Top DK value plays. I'll just sort by DK value right now. Peyton Pritchard. Yeah, I think I'm going to be pretty interested in Peyton Pritchard with no Derek White or Drew Holiday tonight. I can't imagine this ownership holds. This has got to go up, right?
Yeah, it's already gone up. Like, I
Let's
was
refresh.
looking like a half hour ago, and he was still in the single digits. Now he's 28 and 19, I think, last I checked. Probably going to continue to climb. My first guy in, and again, I mean,
Yeah.
both the guards are out, and we've seen him get run when games blow out too. So there's really no fear here for Pritchard. I just love him. Probably going to be in everything I do tonight.
Yeah, like I feel like this ownership is a lie. Don't play him
Yeah.
and be shocked when he comes in at 40%. But I mean, he's the best play on the slate, right? 9.9 OF index at 5,600, top DK value, minutes are secure. And it's like, if you guys watch the stream in the beginning of the season, I was so out on Peyton Pritchard. And now I think he's really, really good. Probably one of the best backup point guards in the whole league.
It's insane how he's kind of like spoken this into existence too.
Yeah.
Like he was
Yeah.
getting roasted last year talking about how he didn't know if he wanted to stay, if he wasn't going to get the minutes. He knows the type of player he is. We're like, dude, you're the 10th guy down the bench. Like, just shut up and play. But man, he's kind of proved it. So credit
Dude,
to
he's
Pritch.
good. Yeah, and it's like I remember reading about him. Like this dude used to wake up at like 5 a.m. and do dribbling drills in his garage before school in high school or something. It's like okay, yeah, like with the work ethic, I get it. Like good,
Yeah, but
congrats
it
on
only takes you
his
so
success.
far. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got Miles McBride up next. I'm still in on Miles McBride. I'd rather go to Peyton Pritchard, but I'll probably have a bunch of lineups with both of them. Miles McBride has shooting guard eligibility. I think this is
Yeah.
pretty important. So are you in on him too?
Yeah, totally. I know we played him against Denver. He wasn't great, but he still played 44 minutes. I mean, 44 plus minutes, three straight games. Kind of similar to Pritchard in that. Even if this game gets out of hand, I think Thibs is going to lean on him here to kind of run this offense. They don't have many good point guards off the bench. Like, they get a lot of shooting guards there. Like Dwayne Washington, I don't think there's any interest in him getting minutes. Like, we just love Thibs for DFS reasons because he's not one of these coaches that wants to see what he has in these other guys. He just wants to run seven or eight guys all the minutes every night, regardless of how the game plays out. So yeah, I like McBride a lot here at his price. Definitely prefer Pritchard of the two, but a lot of the lineups I have that I'll be building probably include both of them.
Yeah, and McBride gets Detroit's. Like, I mean, McBride's a backup essentially, but he gets their bench today with Cade Cunningham and Jade. Was Jaden Ivey out too?
I think Ivy's in, but maybe it came out that he was out. Last I checked, he was in.
Okay. Well, yeah. Either way, I mean, McBride averaging 46 minutes over the last three games.
It's
If he
insane.
puts up 24, I'll live with it. Having the potential to put up, much more, and just being on the court for every minute is awesome for fantasy.
It's insane.
Other guys down the list. I mean, Zach Collins, the other one pulling ownership. I think that on DraftKings, we both agree he's a pretty good play. FanDuel, he's fine, right? And then
Yeah.
Gafford, Brooks, Jordan Poole, DFS, Fred VanVleet, Cam Thomas, Scoot Henderson, Chimezi Metu. Any of those guys you want to talk a little bit more about?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I thought Fernando was gonna be chalky. It seems like he's fallen down, right? Or are we just doing guards?
Uh, no, Bruno Fernando, yeah, only 12.3 DK value projected for 22 minutes still with sub 10% ownership. So if you think that the model's a little bit off there, I think that's a good shout.
Yeah, because I mean I was looking a few hours ago and he was the most popular play on the slate. So I just think like the field may be overreacted here to getting this other value to open up.
Hmm.
I still think he's a good play. I think he's underowned. I don't mind Metu. I did want to bring up though. I was paying attention to that Detroit game the other day because I had Wiseman like what's it called, the combo where you bet like points, rebounds, assists. I was
Hmm.
super heavy on him there, and he got in terrible foul trouble. He still got there barely, but the big reason Metu played 39 minutes was because of that Wiseman foul trouble. So I just want to say I do like him as chalk, especially if he's going to start, but proceed with some caution because a lot of that run came because of the foul trouble Wiseman was in against the Pelicans. Like I am not confident expecting 35 plus minutes for him again here. Wiseman only played 26. We've seen Wiseman get up to 36. So I don't know. Could both these guys get there, get plenty of run? Yes. But am I expecting Metu to play 39 minutes again? Absolutely not. So just make sure if you're looking at the game log, you kind of take the context that Wiseman was in major foul trouble last time around.
So that game where Duran got ruled out 5 minutes before lock and Wiseman became just like probably the best DFS play of the whole
Smash.
season.
Yeah.
Was that against Boston?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so in that game, Duran did not get into foul, or not Duran, Wiseman
Wiseman.
didn't get into foul trouble, dominated, and Metu only played 19 minutes, and that's
Right.
not to say without foul trouble we're only expecting 20. I mean, we haven't projected for 32, which is insane. But as long as he's starting, and I think we do expect him to start, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He'll start.
Okay, then I mean, his price is just a little bit incorrect. So even though he's super owned, I mean, are you gonna 100% him tonight?
No, only because, like I said, I do like Fernando as a direct pivot.
Okay,
There's also a few other plays in that range I think we could talk about. We have Collins on DK at center. I mean, it's a little dicey, but I think Luke Cornett gets run here. No one's really talking about the fact that Tillman's out for Boston as well. I
nice,
know they
good
got both
call.
starters back, but Cornett's going to be the big off the bench. So yeah, I mean, I like Metu. I do think if you're playing cash games, low risk, you probably have him. But I mean, Wiseman's a really good leverage point if you want to make that pivot. And then Tosan, not going to try to pronounce his last name. I mean, he's been playing just as many minutes as Metu off the bench, and if this game gets out of hand, he's the guy who probably plays the whole fourth quarter. So I don't know. I think he's fine, but just keep an eye on the ownership because if he's one of the chalkier plays on the slate, that does feel like dicey chalk. And right now, I mean, he's 75% on FanDuel, 57 on DK. Again, I think he's a good play. Don't get me wrong, but I certainly think he's overowned, and I think we're probably over projecting his minutes a little bit.
Nice. I agree. Absolutely. Jose, is Metu starting again? I mean, he's projected to start. They're projecting Marcus Sasser, Jaden Ivey, Troy Brown Jr., Chemezi Metu, and James Wiseman. I mean, Duran's out, Fontecchio's out, Cunningham's out, Grimes, Taj Gibson, Asar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, Stanley Amude. Those last three are out for the season. Hate to see it.
Tank is
Uh,
on, man.
it's just they have to. Someone has to play minutes. I mean, Evan Fournier. Are we looking at anyone else on Detroit since we're here? I mean, Marcus Sasser. He's not a top value, but he's the chalk. So.
And that's what I wanted to talk about. I don't like Sasser as
Hmm.
chalk here at all. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, we have McBride, we have Pritchard. You don't even need to go that cheap at guard. I mean, we saw Buddy Boheim get a ton of minutes last game. He actually looked pretty good. Not saying I want to play him here, but it's enough of a reason for me to not be confident in Sasser. Malachi Flynn also had a really good game. Like, this is the opposite of Tibbs. What Williams is doing here for Detroit is trying to get all these
Hmm.
guys run off the bench. So Sasser is kind of in this like group of guards, and I think they're all okay. But if he's going to be popular, there's really just no reason to go there. Like, I'm not going to be surprised if one of these cheaper guys ends up outplaying him.
I would expect one of the cheaper guys to outplay him. Absolutely. It's
Mhm.
just a question of like figuring out which one, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to play that game, but yeah, I mean, it's just reason to get off of Sasser, I think.
Yeah, I mean, McBride on the other side is projected for much less ownership, and that just seems like it for
Wrong.
me. It just is not remotely close. McBride is just a much better play, and the model agrees that you can fade Sasser and feel pretty good about it today at this ownership. Projected for 30, so he's projected for 30 minutes. He's not even guaranteed to get 30 minutes. So if you take away a few minutes, his value score is going to go even more down. And so I think that this is probably one of the best fades of the whole day. Sorry if he goes off.
No, I mean, and I totally agree. And it's not like this is a good matchup either. I mean, he's going to be dealing with New York's defense, slower pace.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, not a great spot for him.
I mean, while we're on Detroit, I see a question who asked about Flynn. Nico66 asking about Malachi Flynn. This guy went off last game or the game before that, I'm pretty sure. I
Last
mean,
game, yeah.
higher value score than Sasser. I mean, OF index is going to be in toilet, but he's 3.3K. We don't care about that. Coming in for 9%. I mean, I'd rather play Malachi Flynn at this price than play Sasser at the ownership. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I think he's good, and Boheim. I think they're almost identical plays. I mean, yeah, they're both going to shoot. They both need to shoot. Flynn probably has a bit higher of a floor because he is supposed to be able to kind of get assists and rebounds, etc. But he's more of a true point guard than Buddy is at this point. But yeah, I like Flynn as a pivot for sure.
See, Flynn is like a TJ McConnell type who's a better 3-point shooter, but
Mm,
yeah, I mean, at his if he was owned, I wouldn't be as excited. But since he's solo owned, like I'll take the chance to get these kind of
yeah,
scores.
and I will say I do like Flynn more than Boheim again, just because he does more than just shoot.
Boheim, I don't know who this dude is.
Remember the coach of who was it? Syracuse for years. It's his son.
Oh, good for
Um,
him.
yeah,
Oh, dude, I do remember actually. Nice.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. He went on a little run with one of those teams, but yeah, I'm. He's a shooter, man, and that's pretty much all he does. Since Detroit is through like their top 20 players, they're onto their G League team, so Buddy's getting some run here.
I will say, so he's played 27 minutes total in the NBA. But if we're taking shots on guys just getting in the league who are probably going to see minutes due to their teams being depleted, really good 3-point shooters are the guys we want to target. So at
Mm.
flat min, I mean, if you're making 150, throw them in a couple. If you're making less than that, then it's probably
Yeah,
not
yeah.
necessary. Let's go ahead and jump into the positions. Make sure we have any questions here. Emma, we touched on Bruno Fernando. Who's the cover boy today? It's Peyton Pritchard, baby.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go. I like it.
Any thoughts on Poku, Charlotte versus Cavs, DraftKings?
Yeah, he's been getting run. Um, the DK price is tempting. I don't know that I want to go there. It's a bad matchup. Uh, they're getting Mobley back, so that's one of the best front court defenses in the league. I mean, if you're on him as like a last piece in, I guess he's fine, but I don't know. It feels a little thin to me.
I'll mention. I think Mobley was questionable on the second end of the back-to-back. Was he? Is that right? Oh
I
no,
think
he's
he
on the
sat
injury
the
report.
first, so he's
Okay,
good to
okay,
go today.
okay.
Yeah.
We're good. Um, but yeah, the one thing I will say about Pokuševski, he's played 20 plus minutes in 4 of the last 5 games.
Yeah.
And what was his ownership coming in at? Pokuševski 1%.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, I'm the type I like taking shots on guys like this at 1% ownership, so I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Risky, but
Risky,
then
but there is upside. Yeah.
Claxton, what do you think?
Yeah, I do think so. It was weird the other night. Dayron Sharp got DNP'd because apparently Ollie wanted to see what Noah Clowney was made of against the Bucks. Only played him 13 minutes. I don't know. I do like the spot for Claxton though. Toronto has Kelly Olynyk in the front court. I mean, he has played 30 plus minutes in competitive games. When games do get out of hand, he's one of the first guys off the floor. But I do think he's safe for 30 plus here. So yeah, Claxton probably one of the higher floors at center tonight, point per dollar. Pretty comfortable getting there. Yeah.
Nice. And speaking of DK value, I mean, 14.9, he is. Wait, Claxton? Did I read that wrong? No, Cam Thomas has 14.9. Claxton has 14.5.
Not bad. Yeah.
One of the top center plays on the slate. Does Jaden Springer get 25 minutes tonight? I saw another question about Jaden Springer here earlier. What team is Jaden Springer on,
Celtics.
dude? So everyone's out. What do you think about Jaden Springer tonight?
It's
He's not in the
interesting.
model. Yeah, he's not in the model.
I mean, he should be the backup point guard here. Then again, I'm wondering if maybe they let Hauser try to run things a little. Yeah, has he been? No. Um, yeah, he's just used his space. So I don't know, man. If you want to get really weird, sure. He played 21 minutes against Detroit back on the 18th, had 22 fantasy points. I think that's the only game they've really given him a ton of run in. Then we're back to when I think he was on Philly. He had this stretch against Golden State, Dallas, Brooklyn, where he was actually playing pretty well. So when he's on the floor, he's a decent player in terms of fantasy points per minute. I like the matchup for guards against the Hawks. And yeah, I mean, looking at the roster, unless they do some like point Tatum or point Jalen, which is something they can do, I don't know that they will. He should be the first guard off the bench. So Do I feel super confident in it? No. But as soon as he checks in, I would be pretty confident in it. It's just a matter of is he checking in as the backup point guard. They do have both Kristaps and Horford back in the same game for the first time in a little while. Hauser was out for a while as well. But again, I mean, yeah, I guess there's just no other point guards. Like JD Davidson isn't getting run anytime soon. So
I will say it's just, consider the risk versus reward. The risk is
yeah,
he plays 3 minutes and scores 0 fantasy points, and the reward, maybe he plays 20, gets up to 20 fantasy points,
yeah,
where I think we could probably find that somewhere else.
yeah. I agree. I mean, there's definitely safer options. I mean, even just talking about the Detroit game, I think I'd rather go to Malachi.
Nice. I agree. Completely agree. So now let's finally get into guards. Sorted by OF index, the guys at the top. Typical. Luca just way ahead of everybody else. DeJounte, Jalen Green, Devin Booker, Fred Van Vliet, Kyrie, De'Aaron, Tyrese Halliburton, Brunson Harden, Paul George, Cam Thomas, Maxi, Murray. Lots of studs here tonight. So we talked about a couple of these guys already, but who's standing out to you the most? And are all these? Okay, so there's an extra game in there, but from the guys still on the screen, who's standing out at the top?
Yeah, I will say in building earlier, even before we had some of this news, it was super easy to get to Luca today. There's just so much value with so many
Mhm.
guys out and teams kind of winding down. So yeah, I do like Luca. He's going to be more popular than we're projecting him around 17%. I mean, expect 30 plus honestly on both sites. We've seen consistently just everyone's getting there. I mean, other than him, there's nothing I'm really clamoring to get to honestly. Like I would like the spot for Brunson. I'm concerned about blowout. I do like the spot for Murray, but it's not the best matchup against Boston. I do think that backcourt being so thin with no White or Drew should help him, but it could also draw more kind of Jalen. Like they could really mix up the matchups here on him. So I don't know. I like Luca if I'm paying up. Some of the best value on the slate is at guard though. I don't know if anything else is really standing out. Like Jordan Poole's fine with no Kuzma, but it's Jordan Poole. If we do get word that Joker's out, then maybe it's Murray. But I think Power mentioned that maybe Murray's the guy who's actually hurt. So I don't know. I think you just kind of live with the value at guard tonight for the most part, or just get all the way up to Luca. And I mean, it's gonna feel pretty good having Luca in your lineup. It's easy to get to him.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like I'm gonna lock button Peyton Pritchard tonight. Maybe I'll have
Yeah,
like 80%, but he's gonna take up so many of my guard spots. Everyone, and I feel like his ownership is gonna come higher, so it's just gonna push everyone else down.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you mention Dejounte?
I did. Yeah, I said I like him, but I it's like a weird situation with Boston. Like usually you'd be like, okay, they're good guards that actually play defense, and Drew or White are out. But that
Yeah.
makes me wonder if maybe he draws more like Brown Tatum because they can. Like, I don't know. It's a really weird matchup. So yeah, I don't mind Murray. He's been solid, but paying almost 10K against the Celtics, like I can't say I'm excited to do it.
Yeah, I will say 6% and 4% ownership. It's really easy to get over the
Yeah,
field on
yeah,
that.
yeah, definitely.
Um, I mean, from the guy, Fred Van Vliet, as long as he's around 8K, and I mean, the spread is pretty large over in Portland, 14.5, but I still like him and Jalen Green as a good GPP shots. Model's a little higher on Jalen Green today. I think it was the opposite last time, so
That's interesting.
we'll see about that. And then sorting by DK value, a guy whose ownership was kind of surprising to me was Dante DiVincenzo, but his value score isn't great. It's not awful for 6,600 and 7,100. A little bit chalkier than I would have ever guessed. What do you think about him?
I think he's okay. I mean, I'm just not really all that interested knowing we have really great value a little bit cheaper. I mentioned Jordan Poole as someone in that price range who I think I would want to get to more aggressively than DiVincenzo. I just think he has a much higher ceiling here with Kuzma out against the Bulls.
Yeah, I missed that Dante put up 53 against your Nets the other day, so I get it.
Yeah, I mean, he has the upside. It's just like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
how often does he hit that? Like once every 3 weeks? Like, that's, I don't know. I'm good.
Like I think he's okay. I'm gonna be under the field because I think this ownership is kind of ridiculous. But
Yeah.
like if he shows up in some lineups, I'm not gonna change it or anything. And then so we're sorted by value right now. Some other guys: Scoot Henderson, Trey Jones, Gary Trent Jr., Jaden Ivey. Anything there?
Trent, he's been playing exceptionally well for Toronto. I do like the matchup here against my Nets. Yeah, I mean they're probably going to start Liberty Freeman or whatever the hell his name is in the backcourt with him, but Trent's really still kind of running that offense with quickly out. So I like Gary Trent a lot. I know you're kind of paying up for him a little bit on FanDuel. He's like 6,800 over there, but probably my favorite Raptor tonight. And then I'll just stay on that same game. We still have no Dennis Smith Jr. Schroeder really hasn't spiked the ceiling in a while, but he's been in terrible matchups like Knicks, Bucks. Pels. Like this is a spot I think he should finally maybe hit a ceiling. And so I'd mix in some Schroeder here, especially if you're looking to pivot off of a chalky Cam Thomas. But yeah, those two in that game, Trent and Schroeder, definitely standing out to me.
Nice. Just a couple other guys I'll mention. I mean, Malachi Flynn is on the first page of value for DK, and we already
Ooh,
talked about him, so that seems pretty
sneaky.
great. Yeah, Caruso. I don't see Ao's name here. Did they price him up to 8K yet?
Yeah, I mean he's
Ao.
7K on DK,
Hmm.
and they're healthier than they've been.
Yeah,
He's
it's gonna be a tough
okay. I
one.
mean, it is the Wizards. Like one of these guards probably does well, but with Kobe White back, it's like you're really kind of rolling the dice. And they're like slowly giving more and more minutes to White as well. So maybe AO's kind of overpriced for White getting back to his normal role. But yeah, he definitely has upside. We've seen it a lot recently.
Nice. So before we move on, just Peyton Pritchard, Miles McBride. Uh, I mean, top two values in the model. I think they're two of the better plays on the entire slate. So it looks like I'm probably going to stay in the mid range to paying down at guard today.
Yep, I agree.
Small forward, power forward, top of the OFN. Dylan Brooks, top of value. We'll get to that in a minute.
Nice.
Jason Tatum, KD, DeMar, Kristaps, Laurie Markkinen. So immediately we can see like we like the cheap guard plays a lot, but the guards at the top of guard are just a lot stronger than the players at the top of the forwards. But I mean, anyone here that you really like a lot?
I mean, honestly, it's the mid range for me more than anything. I do
Yeah,
like the spot for DeRozan. I mean, it's the Wizards. But yeah, I mean, Denny might be my favorite forward tonight.
nice.
Really, really like him here. Still no Tyus Jones, no Kuzma for him either. Um, and Poole plays better off ball. So I think we're going to see a lot of point Denny tonight. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, other than that, there's just a lot to like in the mid range here. I mean, if you consider Olenek a forward, I think he looks good. Um, Bridges for the Nets has been playing a little bit better. Probably don't want to get there too aggressively, but yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm just all over Denny. I'm pretty shocked he's not more popular.
Nice. I like that call. Yeah, I'm going to be over on Denny as well. Probably going to be with the field on Josh Hart. Just I like getting
Mm.
Josh Hart. His ownership seems high. Great matchup against Detroit, though, projected for 48 minutes, 41.
Yeah,
Uh,
all the minutes.
and then your Kelly Olynyk call. So he's coming in for 9% on DraftKings, 17 on FanDuel. I saw something like he had 60 passes in the previous game. The potential assists were still in the teens, but the point is that the ball is in his hands a lot, and we
Yeah,
haven't projected for 30 plus minutes tonight, 31. So Kelly O at this low ownership, I don't hate it, especially since it seems like I'm going to have salary left over to spend at center if we're, trying to get anyone besides Zach Collins. So
yeah. And I mean, to my point earlier about Trent kind of running the offense a little bit more, it's also Kelly Olynyk. 10 assists last game against the Wizards. I
yeah,
think that might be a first for him. If not, it's been a while for sure. So yeah, I know they're listing Freeman Liberty as the point guard, but he's just kind of on the floor. They're really having Kelly and Trent do a lot of the work here on offense, and then Bruce Brown when he's in. But I'm not crazy about Brown coming off the bench, honestly.
same. Yeah, same. The rest of value. So, I mean, Dylan Brooks, top of value, 1% owned. Why is he 1%? Wasn't he like 40 the other day at $300 less?
Oh man, it's funny too. My first dummy on DK actually had him in it. Just where I landed. He's good, man. I mean, but he's also terrible because he could get ejected in the first quarter. He could just not shoot for a whole game. It is a great matchup against Portland. Um, I mean, he's been playing about 25 minutes per game, which isn't great, but yeah, man. I mean, they're just so thin in that front court right now. I'm fine getting to him. Just know what you're getting into. Low floor, high enough ceiling to justify the price point. If he was popular, I'd be comfortable getting away. But at low ownership, I do think he makes sense to mix in as a tournament play.
Absolutely. Like, everyone wanted to play him against Chicago, and I think he was still chalky against Utah, but 1%
Yeah,
against Portland. I know the price came
it's
up,
weird.
but like 1%, I'll take shots. He's going to come in more than 1% owned. He's going to be like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, something like that. But
Yeah.
Great play. Top of the model. DFS, Chimezi Metu, Chris Murray, Jason Tatum. One of the pay ups showing up near the top of value. Pretty much the only one. KD's down here a little bit. DeMar too. But Dante DiVincenzo showing up as great value too. Amon Thompson. And so we do have a lot of options. I'm living in the mid range today as well. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the move. Yeah, Finney Smith, proceed with some caution on that one. I mean, he should see more
yeah.
run here, but at the same time, he's super inconsistent. Again, I'm kind of hoping they start Watford or Wilson because I'd be interested in them at minimum price. Probably don't though. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like you said, the mid range is the best. I really like Denny. And then if you want to get a little bit different, I think Sochan probably makes some sense here with Wemby out, especially in lineups that you're not playing Collins. He's really the one other spur that I'm kind of interested in. Um, Laurie is back tonight. I think at 8K he's fine. He should probably get his normal run dealing with a quad injury. Played 35 minutes 2 nights ago. I think they just rested him for like recovery purposes. So yeah, he looks pretty good here as well. Probably a good correlation play too to run back with Luca lineups.
Nice. Um, and then there's one guy here. So GG Jackson, same kind of thing. He's 1% owned, but he was chalk when he was $300 less. And let's say a couple guys for Denver are out tonight. Do you think this is a solid GPP play?
Yeah, he's fine. I mean, his biggest games, I think, someone else was out. Was it Jaren or Aldama? I don't know. I do like Gigi though. He's been really solid. I will say Aldama is kind of playing back into his old self too recently. So I think either of those guys make a lot of sense. Just kind of keep it on the ownership. But yeah,
Nice.
that matchup could get a lot better quick if some of these guys are ruled out for Denver.
And you mentioned Trendon Watford. Now, are you interested in him at all if he doesn't start?
If I was playing 150, you could mix him in, but eh, I don't know,
Okay.
man. Especially knowing that Ollie's like interested in seeing what Clowney can do, per his
Hmm.
own words. I don't know that Watford's safe for 15 to 20 minutes, which is probably what you're going to need from him here. So yeah, if he's off the bench, probably not because I'm mostly a single entry type player. But if you need a mid price guy and you're playing 150 lineups, I think you could mix him in.
We have him projected for 16 minutes, and he's projected for 12% ownership on DraftKings at the flat min. So, I
Seems
mean,
high, yeah.
yeah, it seems super high. Flat min price. I mean, if he starts, yeah, this should definitely probably be 3x that, but he probably won't. So,
Right.
and then I wanted to mention Dominic Barlow. I pulled him up on screen a couple minutes ago. Just like I don't think we should be getting away from Zach
Collins.
Collins today.
Yeah.
But Barlow will be the backup center. I mean, he probably plays right at what we haven't projected for. Oh, 19. This actually seems kind of high. I don't think he played. I don't know if he'll play 19 minutes tonight, but I will mention him just as another, I don't know, long shot GPP play.
Yeah, you could mix him in for sure. I don't mind
Andy Zwerko, how about Giroux on Memphis? I don't
it.
think we haven't projected for enough minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's been weird. It's like Goodwin started one game, then they went back to Pippen, but those two guys are both ahead of him on the depth chart. If Pippen starts, I love Pippen. I do want to bring him up. But yeah, unless we get news that both Goodwin and Pippen are out, I probably wouldn't get to Juro. I think they're going to slowly kind of ease Goodwin out of the rotation, but again, this is me
Unfortunate.
speculating. Yeah. Pippen's the guard you're probably going to want to play from Memphis, if any, as long as he's active.
Yeah, I mean, and Giroux, I mean, Malachi Flynn was showing up as a good value score if you need a cheap point guard. That's probably the direction
Yeah,
that I would go if,
definitely.
I mean, if you can't afford Pritchard or McBride.
Hmm.
Would we take a shot at a Mavs Jazz stack, Luca Clarkson Kessler?
Clarkson's first game back from an injury. He's been out for like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. I'm not crazy about him. I'd probably go to Sexton or George ahead of him. But I mean, if we get word that he's 100%, no issues, no holdbacks, and sure. But yeah, everything else you're saying, I think makes some sense. But kind of similar situation with Kessler. I mean, you're looking at the game logs, probably you're seeing that he's been playing really well. But Collins missed a lot of those games, so I don't know. I like the game. I like the game stack. It's probably one of the best games on the slate to target. But the Jazz are just a little bit dicey. I think Marketing, Sexton, George are probably your safest plays. Then maybe Collins, Kessler, then Clarkson. So you have the right idea, just maybe the wrong Jazz players.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, seeing these ownerships, no one's projected over 5%. They only have 8 guys projected to play more than 10 minutes. I feel like Yurt7 could be on this list as like their ninth guy. Maybe he gets 12 minutes tonight or something.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see how the rotation is. It's been a couple weeks since everyone's been here. Walker Kessler, you mentioned he's coming in at 0% ownership. You think he's worth a GPP shot?
He's okay. I
Yeah.
think there's a better cheap centers, and I mean, we had a few good games out of him that Collins was out. So like, I don't know. I'd rather go to Landale if he starts. Certainly, there's a few others. We have Collins, who's chalk, who looks really good. I don't mind Holmes for Washington. Like, there's just better center plays in that range.
Okay, nice. And that's a good transition into the center. Thug. And do we like Jeff Green? I mean, we never liked Jeff Green. It's our, do we not dislike him enough to play him today? 4,200 and 4K projected for 5 and 18%. I imagine this DraftKings percent will go up if he's announced in the starting lineup. But what do you think either way?
If he's in the starting lineup, then yes. If not, I mean, he's fine. Um, I don't know. It's like you said. It's like I never like him, but with the front court so thin, no Smith or Sengun, it makes a lot of sense that he's going to get run here. So, again, I think he starts if Aiton's out. I think if Aiton's in, they go to Landell. Either way,
Mm-hmm.
you could play Green. Um, but yeah, I mean, I like him about as much as you can, like Jeff Green in 2024, which is, he's pretty good, I guess.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, man, it's tough.
We have him projected for 25 minutes. He played 25, 27, 18, 26 over the last four, and he got there in two of them. I mean, if he puts up 33 tonight, he's probably in the winning lineup. This is definitely an outlier result. Don't expect this to happen, but it is possible. And if he, like Nick said, if he starts, it's probably worth some shots. I feel like I'd still prefer Landale, but I could mix them both in. And then Metu over Wiseman. So we didn't touch on Wiseman too much. We talked about Metu a bunch, but yeah, tell me about Wiseman here.
I mean, it's a bad match to begin Hartenstein, who's been really good.
Mm-hmm.
But Wiseman, again, a guy who could kind of do it all for a big, which is obviously appealing. I like him here. He was in major foul trouble that game against the Pelicans. Still played 26 minutes, got to around 25 fantasy points. So I like Wiseman at low ownership. I think that's a really logical pivot. You're just dealing with a terrible matchup with a super wide spread. Um, so I don't feel great about it, but honestly, I do think he is a much higher floor than Metu. If the field wants to
Yeah.
be super heavy on Metu, makes sense to kind of come in under on that and get over on Wiseman.
I completely agree. Yeah, I mean, like Metu can obviously hit the ceiling much harder because the salary is so much lower, but he can also put up like seven. If things don't break his way, and I don't mind paying what might be a little bit too much for a player with the upside of Wiseman. I mean, we kind of see why he was such a top pick when he was, even though hasn't like panned out in the NBA.
Yeah,
He's pretty good at scoring fantasy points. Reminds me a lot of Andre Drummond.
yeah, I can see that.
Duop Reith.
If Aiton's out, Aiton's been
Yeah.
out the last three games. I know Reed's coming off a huge game against Denver, which obviously looks good on paper, but you really got to know that Jokic was out that game, right? And also, yeah, I mean, no Aiton obviously opens things up for him. He's played three games with Aiton out. Only one of them he really did what we wanted him to. I mean, he got 22 at 3,500, but now that he's in the 4K range, I would only play him if Aiton's out.
Yeah, I'm thinking about so Portland plays in the second to last time slot today. There's still going to be five total games starting at or after that, so you can make swaps if you have Aiden or if you have Duop Reith. But I
Only
was
two
thinking
games. The 10s are not on the slate.
the which one?
10
Oh,
o'clock
I
games.
know, but I mean
Oh,
the games that start at
including
the
it.
same
Yeah, yeah.
time as Portland.
You're right,
Yeah.
you're right.
Because I'm thinking like Zach Collins is 5K on DraftKings. I don't know that we're going to want to swap off Zach Collins to Duop Reith in the event that happens, but like maybe if your lineup sucks in the early games, then you
Yeah.
want to try to min cash it and get away from the chalk. There's an idea to play Reith, but I mean, you are going to be able to swap, or like, let's say you're playing a ton of Zach Collins and I don't know, 50% Zach Collins, you want to swap 6% to Reith or something. You're going to be able to do that pretty easily. So I don't think you plan ahead for this.
Yeah.
Metu over Jeff Green? I think so.
Yeah, assuming my two stars, which he
Yeah.
will. Yeah.
Jokic and Murray back, no Gordon leverage. We don't know yet. I think. I mean, do you have any? I don't even know. If it's worth it to
This,
speculate. Just
yeah,
you
I
got
mean
to
the
see a
spread's
lineup.
crazy. The spread's
Yeah.
crazy wide. It is a home game. I think they're gonna try to play Jokic here, and maybe that's my only take is that Jokic probably plays, but I have no real clear read on this.
Yeah, this is based on nothing, but I would expect two of those guys to play. I have no idea which two.
Right.
From the regular starters minus KCP, and then Poku. Yeah, we talked about Poku earlier. I mean, risky play, but I think he's fine in GPPs.
Yeah, should play 25 minutes.
So, well, we're sorted by value. Daniel Gafford, the only center with a higher DK value than Zach Collins. It's actually the same, slightly higher on FanDuel though, 59 and 6,900 at a fraction of the ownership. I don't think it's a pivot, but do you like Daniel Gafford maybe in the same lineups as Zach Collins or just at all? I guess.
I mean, in tournaments, if no one's playing him, I think he is a pivot. I mean, I don't know. Yes, they have Lively there, but we've seen him spike over 40 fantasy points at times. Like, that's what you want out of him in tournaments. So, yeah, I think he's a good tournament play. Probably wouldn't play him in anything cash or low risk. But I do like the matchup, and I do like the upside for his price. So, great tournament play, but more of a large field type play for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get to a ton of Gafford. And like, you might be sitting there asking yourself, why is Gafford at the top of the model every day? Because he's playing less than 27 minutes and putting up 40 fantasy points, 36 fantasy points. Like, just a monster fantasy point per minute guy. Really good GPP play. Definitely boom or bust. When it doesn't work, it definitely doesn't work. But when it works, you're going to be really happy to have him at low ownership.
Yeah, when you have Kyrie and Luca passing to you, it makes things
Right.
very easy
You
for a
don't
guy
have
like
to make any moves. Just catch the ball
right,
and
right.
put it
Just
in.
catch it and drop it in the hoop.
So Metu, good value. Model does think Metu is okay chalk. Maybe the ownership's a little high, but like
Yeah,
Model thinks he's fine. Like don't play Gafford more than Metu in your exposures,
no.
but play more Gafford than the field. Maybe be with the field or slightly under a Metu. Claxton near the top. Jock Landale near the top. Projected 25 minutes. Love to see that at 5%. I'll take some shots. It's just tough because he's basically the same price as Collins, and Collins is uh, just a much better play, assuming he's starting. But anyone else from the centers that you want to talk about?
We talked about Claxton briefly. I think he's fine. Bruno Fernando, again, Noah Kongwu for the Hawks coming off the bench. I think he's probably under-owned. Um, Other than that, I mean, Olenek, another guy we talked about during forwards, I think is pretty solid. Definitely a boost in the matchup for Nurkic against the Spurs, but at his price, probably not something I get to all that aggressively. So, yeah, I don't know. I think we covered most of it. Again, if Landell were to start and Aiton's in for Portland, Landell becomes very interesting to me. If Aiton's out, you could go to Reith, but we're probably not going to have that news by lock.
Nice. And I just want to mention Bruno Fernando one more time. Nick called him out earlier. The model isn't that high on him, but I think I think we both think he's a fine GPP play at this ownership.
Absolutely, yeah.
Does Gilliard get run for the Nets?
I mean, he could. He's been down with the G League team. Um, I don't know that he's even gotten any minutes since they picked him up. I'm not 100% sure he's with the team, if we're being honest. So I wouldn't go there personally. He could get run, but we even saw when he was starting at times for Memphis, he's a terrible fantasy producer. So I really just don't have interest, but maybe he's in the rotation. But he's been with the G League team as far as I know.
We got DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant ruled out, so
Mm.
we're not going to get a model update before the show ends. So make sure you sign up for OccupyFantasy.com. Instructions are in the description below. $7 a week gets you access to everything that we have
Yep.
in terms of the
But
model and plugs.
yeah, but in short, I mean, that's a boost for Reith, obviously. That's probably a boost for Jeff Green. It makes Landell a little bit riskier. I'm not confident that Landell's going to start anymore.
Yeah, I want to see how the ownership shakes out to see what my ratio of like Reith to Zach Collins is, but I'm guessing I'm just going to have a bunch of lineups with both of them. But
Yeah,
we'll have to see. I'm pretty sure Zach Collins is still going to be the superior play.
yeah.
Uh,
Definitely
how
safer, but.
how high are we on Vooch?
Let's see here. They're facing off. Yeah, I mean, I always say the same thing about Vooch. When he's outsized or he's facing big physical guys, he tends to struggle. Tonight they're playing the Wizards. It's Rashawn Holmes. He's 6'9", not that big. I think he does really well here. So I like Vooch a lot, actually.
Yeah, it seems like the field's going to pay down at center, so just slightly different lineup construction. And I feel like I have the salary to get it. Like my lineups are living in the mid range. It's not hard to pay a little bit more and get up to Vooch like that
Yeah, I
at
like
all.
him.
And then let's build a quick dummy. So I think we're going to plug in Peyton Pritchard and McBride as the first two in. And
Yep.
then what do you think after that?
I mean, for the sake of the show, I guess we go Metu. Like I said, I think
Let's
my
do it.
brain wants to pivot, but he's very logical.
We'll do a Metu and Zach Collins. Make it easy.
Yes. Yep. Those are kind of obvious plays, I think.
I mean, small forward, Tatum, Brown, Hart,
This,
Avdia.
I love Avida.
Yeah,
Avida. Yeah.
let's do Avdia. At the other guard, I mean, we have a lot of options. I think we could fit in Luca. Still have 5K left for
Yeah,
the
let's
other
go
two
Luca.
positions.
I like Luca.
Cheap forward.
I'm trying to think of something a little different we've discussed.
Let's see, top of value.
No, I'm scrolling through.
Dylan Brooks. Just kidding.
God. I
Unless
mean, we could go Wreath at
Reith at the
utility.
other center.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Reith at the other center. I was thinking I kind of like Gafford too, but it's going to
I
be
like
tough to
Gafford too.
fit.
Yeah, I just want to know what that leaves us for salary.
So with Reith, we're left with 5K, and with Gafford, I think we'll have 4K, which we might be able to find a guy. I like pairing up Luca and Gafford. It feels like a slight positive correlation. Doesn't matter
Yeah,
too much.
I like it.
4K. I mean, Christian Brown, if a couple Nuggets guys are out, or
That's a
Poku at
big if.
3,900. Yeah, Troy Brown Jr. is starting, but he's bad. Take Gafford
Troy's,
out and just put in Reith and get a easy guy in there, and then we'll get out of here.
yeah.
Leaves us with 5K at forward. Taylor Hendricks,
God.
Niang, Dylan Brooks, baby.
Dylan Brooks, we're stuck with you.
Top of value. So, I mean, Dylan Brooks 1%. Like, this is a large field type build, even though it's a lot of chalk. Avdia wasn't pulling as much ownership, but pretty solid GPP play, and then everyone else is going to be the chalk. So, any final words before we get out here, Nick?
No, just keep an eye on lineups. Obviously, this time of year things get really weird, especially with some of these teams that are tanking, guys up and down from G League. So things aren't as obvious as they were at certain points of the season. But yeah, plenty of ways to get different tonight. But I like it. Let's crush.
Yeah, good luck tonight, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.